Thank you so much. Welcome to the Caster Desk. It's Quickshot and Ender bringing you the action for Rogue versus the Mad Lions. And as we're going to jump straight into draft, Ender, I need to know, what are the priority picks on your mind?
Look, I'm going to start with the boring, and that's Thresh. Banned 9 out of 9 games, 0 picks. Then there's Tristana. 8 bans on that champion, was first picked in the first game, and then banned every single one since. But from there, it gets a little bit more interesting. The Hecarim first picked 6 of the 9 games, banned or picked in the other 3. And yet, if you look at these two junglers on stage, combined during the regular season, they've played the Hecarim 1 time. It's been all about the Elyoya for these two guys. So jungle priority in the draft is an interesting one for me. There's a whole lot of other picks we're going to have to dive into, but you heard it on the desk, Jungler Kingdom in this series. Let's get into Mad versus Rogue.
Game 1 with the title, a shot at the title, a shot at the defending champions G2 on the cards. And I'm so glad you got to set us up, Ender, because the very first ban for Rogue is that Tristana, exactly as anticipated. The Hecarim is removed from the pool, and that Hecarim became so influential in yesterday's series.
Yeah, it's been absolutely huge. Interesting to see Mad Lions take that one away, and you wonder, will a Elyoya be a valuable first pick here for Rogue? Of course, there's a whole lot of other great options. The Alistar, the Rel, certainly very high up there. The other champion I was going to bring up was the Lucian between these two mid laners. Of course, whenever either of these teams are trying to play a more aggressive early game style, it comes through mid. The Lucian, the Twisted Fate for the roams towards side lanes. Rogue are targeting those both away from the Mad Lions.
And super important to highlight here, Inspired does not have a single game of Hecarim this spring, yet it was the first ban from Mad Lions. Elyoya is still open and available, was played 6 times by Inspired. He won 4 of those games, and the respect ban for that Gnar as well. One of those blind pickable top laners that was featuring a lot in discussion yesterday, with Kalista and Twisted Fate being the last 2 bans. There are a number of important picks available, and it'll be the Senna for Rogue.
Okay, so likely eyeballing the Senna Tom Kench as a bot lane duo. No stranger to the Rogue bot lane, that's for sure, during this regular season. And honestly, for Rogue, what they often get away with in their drafts is they pick these insane scaling, team fight compositions, and yet somehow manage to get favorable lanes more often than not too here. So the Senna plus Tom Kench does well in pretty much any lane you can face off against. And when you see an Orianna on the other side, it's a very stable mid lane choice for Humanoid, but gives Larssen some room to counter into.
And yesterday, Treats and Crown Shot could not shut up about Orianna in the state of the meta, the state of the game, and how many team fights we've already seen throughout round 1 of the playoffs. Orianna plus Jinx for Mad.
I mean, Orianna is like one of those champions that Humanoid made his name for himself on when he first joined the LEC, and I think that putting a Jinx right next to it as well, saying like, okay, look, if you're trying to take a more scaling approach, Rogue, with a Senna getting locked in right off the bat, well, Senna has insane range. Jinx with the rockets can try to match that range for a long period of time during the game, and then you have some nice interactions there too. An Orianna ball, grouping up the enemy, getting the AoE off the Jinx rockets, really giving some time to shine there. But Rogue are going through, they say, we got a Cho'Gath in the top lane. Odo, you're going to be playing weak side. Larssen, Jayce, of all things. They wanted some AD mid. There's still picks like the Elyoya, like the Nidalee, if Inspired wants to go the AP route in the jungle. But this is trying to play hard around mid, potentially.
This is a very big surprise to me, straight out the gate. That Cho'Gath and the Jayce for Rogue. Now we need to see what the execution will look like, and that Thresh was a champion that you were anticipating and talking about is now locked in. It will complement Jinx extremely well, and is a great pick for Kaiser.
Yeah, and I think specifically, I think if Thresh is open, you're going to see teams want to pick that up. But when you look at a champion like Cho'Gath on the other side, Cho'Gath's threat a lot of times in team fights is with the Turbo Chem Tank. He's going to be sprinting towards your backline. He has so much burst damage.
Now the question I have is this a flex pick? Could this be bot lane? As I think we saw it with the Senna against Fnatic in week 8. Now, the only reason I throw that one out is that Jayce could also theoretically be a flex pick for the mid and the top lane once we get to phase.
Hey, I mean, Trymbi has played that Cho'Gath, so it's certainly a possibility here. I like that Mad Lions are going to be targeting the Lilia away from Inspired. When you see physical damage mid laner likely there for Larssen, then of course the answer is going to be to try and target a lot of the AP. If it were to be some sort of top lane Cho'Gath here for Odo, and you ban out a lot of those strong AP junglers, well then a lot of your magic damage is just going to be coming from that Cho'Gath, who's going to be building the tank route more than likely here. So on the other side of things, Rogue banning away the perma-scaling top laner to the Scion. I think all that Mad Lions need from their comp is that reliable frontline engage source, because right now you have great follow-up. You know, yes. The Orianna ball is fantastic, the Thresh can look for picks very nicely, but you need that Scion, you need that Hecarim, that Jarvan, one of these picks that can really just, whenever they want to fight, go in.
Fills the archetype, right?
Exactly.
That's what you're looking for, that primary engage. With Lilia, Aatrox, Scion, and Wukong now removed from the pool, we get to see how Mad Lions, what they want to put in front of Humanoid's Orianna and Carzzy's Jinx. They will be able to counter or get some form of information, and the Volibear jungle is something that we just heard Dylan Falco talking about, how Elyoya's champion pool may need to adapt for the playoffs meta.
And already saying that, yes, it has adapted. Now, I think last night we saw this getting played still in the top lane over in North America, so still some room for Mad Lions to suss out exactly what the matchups are going to be, see exactly where the Cho'Gath, the Jayce, these picks are going to end up for the side of Rogue. But you look at it, both sides have very good scaling options, and if Larssen locks in the Emperor here, like I think everyone assumes he will, this now changes everything. Azir in the mid lane means Jayce is going top. It will mean that the Cho'Gath is down on the bottom side of the map, so instead of the Tom Kent Senna combination we are maybe initially expecting, it will be that Cho'Gath that can continue to farm down there, stack up, of course, and you just have the perma-scale bot lane with Larssen to teamfight for mid.
Yeah, you really do, and that will be that flex option we talked about. And now Mad Lions have to elect. Do they throw the Thunder Bear in the top lane or in the jungle? They know the Rogue composition. And you talked about scaling. Azir and Senna on the same freaking comp? That is infinite scaling with Senna, and huge, huge power that we've seen with Larssen's Azir. Mad Lions, what will you use to round out the team composition? Archetype accomplished. Initiation, press R, and let Orianna and Jinx follow up.
I feel like throughout this draft phase, Mad Lions have had a lot of really good answers into Rogue. You know, Rogue sometimes can be a little bit predictable in the draft phase, and Mad Lions said, well, against the Senna, we have the Jinx, we have the blind Orianna, then coming in last, once that Jayce is confirmed to be in the top lane, well, Malphite, he's gonna have a fine time. Sure, the early laning phase, it's not going to be a whole lot of fun for that Jayce, but later on, you put an Orianna ball on top of him, just get Jinx that one reset, she can take over fight, chase down picks like the Azir and whatnot. So I really like this look in game one, this preparation for the Mad Lions.
Now we need to see if they can execute on the draft. Mad Lions starting off game one of the best of 5 on the red
They
side.
haven't traded, and we're 10 seconds left on the clock. We'll have to get confirmed who exactly is playing what, because this could still be a Jayce for Larssen. Okay, we do have a dodge. I'm not trying to troll anything, so we will be taking a little bit longer to get into game. A quick little prank on us. Trevor,
yes.
What you got?
Did you hear from the producers? Unfortunately, the players were unable to swap.
Okay.
So, as the players were unable to swap, we will be dropping out of Champ Select and redoing Champ Select with the same picks and bans, giving the players the ability and the opportunity to swap those champions as we would expect.
I was about to ask, like, what can't Odoamne do if he can play Udyr top?
Exactly. What this does do is it gives us a few moments now to talk a little bit more about how these drafts will play out. And I'm going to ask really quickly, how surprised are you? Now, we expected an engage archetype. I did not expect the Malphite, but when you see the bans, you have to run through that list, right, and figure out what you want to put on there.
Yeah, I think when you see the bans and also the Jayce on top, a lot of teams are just happy to take the Malphite into Jayce. Again, the early laning phase is not a whole lot of fun, but level 6, you are always going to have a gank option, either from jungler or support coming towards the top side. That immediate all-in threat can set up for very easy kills for your team. And then later on in a side lane too, if that Jayce isn't really far ahead, well, he can't really move that Malphite out of a lane. When you compare a Jayce versus a Malphite in a team fight, if Jayce can't really get a lot of value on a side lane, well, then all of a sudden, you've got a very strong 5 versus 5 for the Mad Lions.
When I look at both of these compositions and how they could play out, I just keep looking at rock, paper, scenario, scissors about how different ways they could work out. If Mad Lions engage isn't enough to find a kill, put Rogue at the back foot, well then Azir can disengage and poke them away. You've got the ability for Cho'Gath for some peel, some silence to slow things down and let Azir and Senna pick them off one by one. Now, as I mentioned, we are remaking a champion select, sharing swaps as soon as we have them. We are anticipating, obviously, that Jayce to go in the top lane, Azir to go in the mid lane. And I'm going to quickly take a brief look here. 5 games for Larssen's Azir this spring already. This will be his 6th. I love that he's going up against Humanoid's Orianna. It's like almost signature picks, right? Signature styles, the things that put their names on the map, clashing head-to-head in game 1.
Yeah, it's like a lore matchup, but not in the sense that it's Azir versus Orianna in the League lore. No, it's the LEC lore of Larssen's Azir versus Humanoid's Orianna. And honestly, when you look at these two compositions as well, like, you have to keep in mind, coming into this matchup, so much pressure was going to be on these two junglers. Elyoya, as the rookie, coming up against the best performing jungler in 2021 in Inspired, and Elyoya going away from the farming junglers. Now he's going to be on that Volibear and looking to make an impact on the map early.
And I think something that's very important for me, just to set the scene, Rogue and Mad Lions are the 2 organizations that are consistently showing development here in Europe, are the 2 organizations that have invested in young talent, either from the ERLs or from the TCL. They've invested in new players, rookie players, developed them, grown them, and as organizations, grown their support. And this is now the 3rd split in a row that you're seeing Rogue and Mad competing at the top.
Yeah.
It is Rogue and Mad in the top 4 of Spring, while Fnatic are not there. And that is exciting to me. I believe you can see the picks on your screen right now officially locked in, as we were anticipating.
And the winner of this game, of course, will go on to face G2 next week. That also means guaranteed top 3 finish in the regular season. So a very important game for these 2 teams on your screen right here. Look, we've got some early game elements in the jungle, in the top lane for Odo. We've got some scaling elements in the bot side, Rogue versus Mad. So often you hear the cookie cutter statement that Rogue plays scaling, Mad Lions play early game. But this truly does have a lot of different avenues of attack. And I'm excited to see both these teams play at their peak.
The avenue of attack I'm watching the closest is going to be Armut's Malphite, because it is either beautiful or awful. There is rarely an acceptable Malphite performance. And for Armut, professionally, this will be his 4th time on Malphite. He's played 3 previous games, only won 1 of them. So let's see what he can do. He's going to be the primary initiation tool for the Mad Lions with Humanoid, throwing the Shockwave ball delivery system on his back. The options to obliterate Rogue are massive. I can see the players loading up onto the Rift for the very first game of Rogue taking on Mad Lions. And welcome to Summoner's Rift. Ender and I will be taking you through all the action today. And straight out the gate, I'm seeing defensive starts in the opening 30 seconds. Carzzy and Kaiser moving themselves north on the river. I don't see any posturing just yet for any fun level 1s, as Trymbi will be able to spot out any sort of movement forward.
Yeah, and important things to note here, of course, whenever it's going to be the support Senna supporting some sort of off-meta pick here. In this case, it's going to be the Cho'Gath. Trymbi's Cho'Gath going to be rocking the Teleport Unsealed Spellbook as well here. I think, you know, a lot of the usual bonuses you would get out of taking like a Grasp of the Undying in the top lane, not going to be super relevant for him, of course. So we look at around the level 6 mark when you unlock the Unsealed Spellbook there. The Exhaust, the Ignite, do we switch over to these things? Is then there going to be some kill pressure around bot lane? Potentially. We will have to wait and see. As far as the early jungle pathing goes, interesting seeing Elyoya start on the top side of the map. Of course, when you're playing a Jayce versus a Malphite matchup around wave 3, wave 4, that's when the jungler could come get involved, when you expect that Jayce to be pushing on forward. But Elyoya likely pathing top down will alleviate any sort of early pressure from Odo, assuming that Elyoya takes that path.
And for me, definitely a lot of eyes on Elyoya. On the pick, on how Mad Lions will integrate this. It's been 2 weeks since we've seen these teams playing, and we saw what Schalke could do in 2 weeks. Developing so far and being able to contest G2 yesterday. We heard Dylan talking about it as well, as the meta has shifted, and exactly as you mentioned. And Elyoya starting up on the top as Hansam and Trymbi We pushed a little bit back as Carzzy and Kaiser are able to get the initial push. You would expect the exact opposite in the top lane as Odo is shoving into Armut's Malphite. Again, exactly as anticipated. And sound your farm alarms for the Azir versus Orianna in the mid lane. We'll check back on them when they have some additional teammates around to support.
Definitely. Controlled early game
Yes.
with all the early information gathered on both junglers here. And so often, you know, whenever Rogue's in the game, a controlled early game means they're usually winning because this is a team that doesn't dismantle you by killing you a million times. This team dismantles you by just being better at all of the basics, right? Like, they almost are always walking out of lane with a CS advantage, and no surprise, top lane with the Jayce this game, Azir and mid with the early shove too, are going to be working up quite well, but they're a team that beats you with just raw laning, with Inspired invading, taking away camps, pressuring down turret plates. That is what I mean by control. It's not that Rogue have a weak early game by any means. It's not as bloody as some of the other teams, like a Mad Lions perhaps, but they have the leads that certainly back it up.
Yeah, definitely. And you see some of the stats on your screen. As we do have a little bit of time, the average goal difference here at 15 for Rogue, plus 1.4k, leading the league. First tower percentage, 77.8%. Kills at 15, while they're not the highest, obviously, it speaks to that playstyle you were just discussing. It's about controlled development. It's about controlling the pace of the game, the tempo of the game, and as long as Rogue are keeping you at arm's length, well, traditionally and historically, they've been winning.
Yeah, it's like in a chess game, you know, you're sort of developing all your pieces before you go for any sort of trades, you know, want to get the best position possible on the map, and even Inspired takes his extra time after doing a Scuttle Crab, that early Udyr clear, very, very fast. His bot side camps haven't respawned yet. He's going to be there right in time. Well, he took that extra time to walk up, place a ward on the Krug camp, the enemy Krug camp he knows is going to be spawning in 15 seconds. He knows that's where Elyoya is going to be going, and that's where you see the fast early clear combined with smart early play, knowing exactly what your enemy pathing is off of the early vision sets you up to get vision on the second respawn of the camps. Elyoya is going to be going there because that's his only real option to go for. He doesn't have any ganks ready for him right now, and Odoamne is going to know that, hey, Elyoya is here, I put a ward in Trybrush, easy peasy, no chance of getting ganked.
I know, you know, I know, you know, I know, therefore, slightly slower in tempo build up. But again, this is kind of what you would anticipate. Inspired will be able to sneak his way into this bush once that minion wave pushes. Look, dancing just on the outside of max minion range.
And honestly, like, Elyoya is smart enough that he also knows that Inspired went for the same pathing, so he's probably telling his team, hey, Inspired should be down on the Krugs. Probably says Inspired is going towards Raptors, so maybe not thinking that he's going to walk into lane, see if there's any sort of move there, but Inspired changes his mind about going for any sort of gank off that. And I think the next thing to sort of wait for is once these Scuttle Crabs go down, where are they going to be respawning? Where's the next point of aggression for these two teams?
A lot of damage. That's a flake coming in. Flash already and cleanse used by Hansama. Trymbi gets chunked out. That's in trade for the flash heal. So advantage to Mad Lions.
Yeah, now Inspired has changed his pathing. Instead of going topside, he's like, I have to split the map. I need to maintain vision on Elyoya. I don't quite know if his ward, the timing worked out. There's a back ping on Elyoya, so I'm going to assume that Inspired knows that he's on the Wolf camp. Hansama has to, of course, travel back to base, and I don't think any more aggression should happen around the bot lane, but now no summoners on Hansama. There's still a teleport on Armut, so if he's able to hold on to his TP and then hit 6 and then come bot, that is danger central for Rogue, and it's almost up to Odoamne to try and maybe take a TP back into lane himself, force Armut to use that to get back into lane, or risk losing so much just in order to alleviate some of that threat of the bot lane all in.
I mean, the scary thing is, it was Hansama and Trymbi that started that. They landed the Rupture, Kaiser flashes forward, gets a fantastic flay, and that was the instantaneous flash response from Hansama. For Kaiser, this is his first Thresh of the year, and already looking pretty comfortable. Even CS, as far as things are concerned, in the bottom lane, minor advantages mid and top. So that's going to be a 400 or 500 gold lead here for Rogue, as you would expect in a Jayce Malphite and an Azir Orianna during these early stages, but there's nothing really to be concerned about. Level 6 for Armut. Elyoya is now going to use that blast, going to pop over the wall. Very good vision from Rogue will once again spot him out, and Elyoya will not be able to spot the ward, so he has no idea. Thank you, observers.
He used a control ward instead of a sweeper, so Rogue know exactly what's going on. Unfortunately for them, like, the wave is still pushing away, and now Elyoya's like, wait a second, why are they playing so darn safe? Well, there's a ward right there, so he clears that, walks away, but this should deny a whole lot of minions from Hansama and Trymbi bot side, because the wave's pushed away. Inspired's top side, so Inspired's like, this is great, guys. I got my Krugs, the red buff's gonna be respawning, I love it. And that's good for Inspired, but the bot lane's certainly not the same situation for them. Trymbi's going to use his TP, and now they see Elyoya. That makes that TP oh so fine in the bot side. They're going to be safe.
No mana there for Humanoid at all, and he's being chunked down, but there is support as Kaiser's already backed. He's coming to help out Inspired. Both respective junglers, by the way, sitting with their own boots of lucidity.
Whoa,
Odoamne gets caught out. Doesn't take the tower shot, though. Swaps to the hammer form. Manages to get the knockback for just a moment and escapes with his life.
Wow, that minion not dying there may have just saved Odoamne his life. Inspired was running over, so maybe Armut does back away, but an extra turret shot, Armut chasing him down the lane. He would have the time to go for a play, and honestly, this ends up not being so bad for Rogue overall. When you look at everything considered, Inspired was able to get a camp on the top side of the map. Carzzy lost his support for a little while, and Inspired smartly backed away. You know, his bot lane's probably calling like, wait a second, Kaiser went back to base while Trymbi's TPing back into lane. Kaiser could be anywhere on the map, so they want to disengage that on the top side of the map. Again, maintain control over this early game, because in their individual lanes, they are all winning out.
Yeah, I mean, Odo's just bringing the hammer down from the skies onto Armut, and now that he knows there's no unstoppable force, look how much further forward Odo is. Plus 12 CS, trying to deny as many as possible, picking up a plate, and this is a very Rogue early game. 1,000 gold advantage by 8 minutes, purely from draft, and then obviously taking advantage of the lane priority.
Yeah, I mean, you look at a 400 gold in top lane, 500 in mid lane, where frankly nothing's been happening other than Larssen shoving out the wave, taking the trades!
Oh, the feral scream!
Nom, 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 nom.
Rogue eat Mad Lions for first blood.
Oh man, and it's timed perfectly with the blue respawn. Inspired's moving over too, so you just watch as Rogue continue to press forward in all their lanes, exert this pressure, keep Elyoya stuck in his jungle. He's playing the Volibear, he wants to get active, but it's just a 2v2 straight up kill that punishes the Mad Lions. And honestly, this has been a huge weakness for the Mad Lions all split long. You look back to 2020, Carzzy and Kaiser were like the premier new bot lane in the LEC. Everyone was excited for them. Kaiser looking like he was competing with all the best supports, the Mickeys and the Hylissang's of the world. This year, it's not been the same thing. It's been a little bit weaker for them. And in game one already, it is not off to a good start.
And you could make an argument, Carzzy and Kaiser not hitting the same highs, or bot laners in Europe just got good this year. There's a number of players that stand out. Trymbi being another one of these promotions from the ERL scene. Rogue replacing Vanda for Trymbi. I had my doubts when I heard that announcement. I was nervous. But Trymbi is stepping up. This Cho'Gath, he used it in week 8. He's using it today in combination with Hans Sama. And Rogue have got themselves a 2,000 gold lead. Hans won't find the route. Trymbi's going to get locked down in place. And the Super Mega Death Rocket comes out. Carzzy and Kaiser say, cast a curse, be damned. They go fishing and find Trymbi.
That's just a beautiful play right there. And I don't know if he was in the fog of war. Like, we need a replay on that because there's a control ward right above him. I don't think they had a ward over the wall. Great read by Kaiser either way to get that hook. Now Elyoya will be spotted in the top side. Armut does have his ultimate, but every single time Odo should have the reaction speed to be able to flash away.
Sorry, I'm getting very excited because Alcove Gamer may almost set up something quite exciting as Elyoya sneaks forward, but the opportunity wasn't there. Odo, the weak side king, backed away early enough.
All right, let's watch this one more time. Okay, fog of war everywhere.
Blind?
No way. No, this is
Blind?
not. That's not okay, dude.
What? F's in the chat for Trymbi, literally as I was praising him. Literally as I
Okay,
was
so
celebrating.
remember, Trevor, when I said in 2020, Carzzy and Kaiser were like the premier bot lane that joined the league, and Kaiser was a machine competing with the top players like Mickey and Hills. That's what I wanted to see, man.
Yes.
That was nasty.
Now the thing is, it's still a slightly nervous or nerve-wracking position here for Mad Lions. They're down 1,600 gold. The one thing that is important to call out, and this is something I was trying to allude to during the remake of the draft, even though Mad Lions may be a little bit gold behind going into the mid game, if you get a good unstoppable force or shockwave combination, and you get a bunch of people, like a bunch of damage onto several members of Rogue, that goal difference is significantly less important. But crucially, you have to hit those ultimates.
For sure, and if you look at the way the two compositions sort of play out, like Rogue, when you consider like what is their front line, how do they sort of like buy space for their team, they've got some tanky boys, but maybe not the most reliable. CC or Udyr CC, very, you know, single target, low duration, etc., etc. Like Rogue want to be playing really back for their Azir, for their Senna, sort of inviting Mad Lions into them, and then when they see the moment where the huge burst of a Cho'Gath can come out, that's where you pounce. That's where you smash, you know, a Humanoid or a Carzzy and get that kill. Whereas Mad Lions, they've got like the R buttons to seek out an Azir, a Senna, a Jayce, all these things. And your instinct was right when Volibear came top lane. Like, there's going to be action because you think about it, Armut's ult can force a fight whenever he wants. Elyoya's ult can force a fight wherever
Yes.
he wants. He can turn off the towers, and if you have those two players in tandem with another, well, you can dive top lane, you can roam out of top, you can look for mid, you can punish Larssen around that lane too. So those two players are the ones that are going to be able to unlock this playmaking from Mad Lions in the mid game.
And those are the players that are going to have to do it. Stem some of this bleeding. Plus 25 CS for Odo. Plus 28 CS for Larssen in the mid lane. And that is where this goal difference is coming in from. A number of plates secured both top and mid for Rogue, where Hansama and Trymbi have just lost their bottom one. But I do want to highlight that Inspired has continued to just power farm up. He's got himself a 350, 400 gold advantage for the time being on this Udyr. He's not shown his face in lane as of yet, but he will be able to. And in the smaller skirmishes, I do like the power that the Udyr can bring.
Oh, for sure. And you also, you consider, Inspired's early game is usually not about slamming a lane. It's about going for the invade. And he's been in the enemy jungle multiple times for Vision the first time, then for counter jungle, all these things. Then again, after dropping Herald in mid, which is going to knock down this tower, walks in one more time. Let's pop the Scryer's Bloom. Let's spot out Elyoya on the top side of the map. We've got mid tower. Now we've got our own mid tower in its place, too, with the Sun Disc. So everything going peachy now for Rogue, and using the Sun Disc as well. Now you start to think Larssen is going to be leaving lane, because for a long time it's been about farming. Now it's about ganking bot.
The unstoppable force is available. Armut needs to find a target. Unsummer is popped into the air, and before his feet can touch the ground, Carzzy sends him back to the fountain. It's a double kill for Carzzy's Jinx.
Beautiful, and this is exactly what Mad Lions needed to, because again, the clock was working against them. In 25 seconds, Larssen was going to be top lane or bot lane looking for some sort of dive off of a crashing wave, likely that top side with Odo building up that massive minion wave. And yet, Mad Lions have the ward, but very deep in lane, have that Malphite ultimate, and that TP came back up. For so much of the game, Odo, forced him to come back to lane with that teleport. Now it's ready to go, and there's nothing Hansama can do. This is the weakness of running, perhaps a Cho'Gath next to the Senna, as opposed to a Tahm Kench, although I don't even think Tahm Kench could have saved them from a situation like that.
Odoamne is going to get jumped on here by Elyoya. 2 flashes available for Armut as well as Elyoya. That's a flash forward, catches him on the stun, continues to chunk down the damage. The shield comes out from Hansama, and Odo's able to escape with his life. Larssen will be too late.
Oh, there's a rocket on the way. Larssen's going to soak that one up. Calculated. Obviously, for the mid laner, going to eat some fruits off that to rub that one off.
I was following the trajectory. I think that was on the way to Odo.
Oh, it was.
If he was recalling in that tri-bush, it could have been problems for him. The Mad Lions, they will at least force the flash, but it is at the cost of that tower HP. About 10 minutes ago, we showed you the average stats for Rogue during the early game, and they averaged during the regular season a plus 1.4k gold lead. It's currently 2,000 with 20 seconds to go at the 15-minute mark. This is exactly what Rogue are used to doing and how they are comfortable playing. You may forget that there are mid laners in the game for the time being. They will become more and more relevant, especially as Humanoid's lost his tower. And of course, they're making their way towards the first and second items for the time being.
Yeah, and of course, Mad Lions have all these great ways to start fights. They have the AoEs to be able to instantly find the Rogue backline. And we've already mentioned Rogue, maybe not the best peel tools from their own frontline, the tools to buy space for their squad. Well, now that ulti's back for Armut. Elyoya is sitting inside the bush. They want to go in.
Unstoppable force knocks up Odo. He's got no flash. He chucks the hammer up, but here comes Inspired. Run, stun.
Trymbi's on the way.
Not yet done. Turns into Phoenix and Tiger, and Armut's being run down as Trymbi's trying to find a secondary. Armut will be able to get one more smash in the face as Rogue pick up their second kill of the game, and Elyoya escapes with his life.
Feels a little bit bad there for Trymbi trying to chase down Elyoya, not getting an assist off that play, but at the end of it all, they're going to get that top lane tower too. Will be traded on the bot side of the map. Carzzy going to be firing away at that one for sure, but you see off the back of the play, Inspired once again into the enemy jungle. Larssen full shoving that mid wave. No one's going to be there to pick up those minions. Humanoid's just now channeling that reset. So even though Mad Lions get the good kill to start because Rogue are rocking with the extra teleport on their support, well, they then get to walk into the enemy jungle and gain a whole lot of information off that.
Yeah, and it's still advantage here to Rogue. I do like the fact that Mad were able to do a little bit of a crossplay. We're able to pick up their first tower of the game. Keep an eye on the minimap. You'll see them pushing the moment Trymbi starts that teleport. But the amount of damage it took, or the amount of time it took to kill Odo, allowed Inspired to get in.
Yeah, also you have to consider that very likely that top lane tower is going down. You know, Odoamne, he just goes up there, pushes that. There's not much that Malphite can do in the 1v1. So the turret trade overall with how low top lane was and how unlikely it was that Mad Lions were ever going to get that bot lane turret in a 2v2 does feel pretty nice for them to get a bit of extra gold. But now the Mountain Drake is spawning up. No ults on Elyoya or Armut, about 10-15 seconds away from those being ready to go. We've got full summoner spells ready for Rogue. We got an extra ghost on Trymbi too. So Cho'Gath's target access with his ultimate is absolutely crucial, and he's got all the mobility he could ever want for that.
And also Armut, the only one that's not sitting on that mythic for the time being, but you don't need that. What you need as a Malphite is your R button to find a target. There's no mid lane tower to push down because Rogue have already secured that, as the Rupture will slow down the push forward from Kaiser.
Rogue just want to slow it down as much as possible. Use the terrain to your advantage. Use your poke from Jayce. Oh, they don't want that!
Odo gets caught out the shield by some time, but it's Carzzy on a rampage. That's his 4th of the game. The Emperor's Divide will slow down. Mad Lions follow up, engage, but the damage coming out. Inspired has already shut down Carzzy. The second goes to Trymbi, a third falls in favor of Larssen. And now Mad Lions are running for their lives. Inspired is chasing forward. Can he find the bear slack to the face of Elyoya? And it's bear on bear action. And it's Rogue that finds 4.
Rogue gotta love that play, and Larssen's ultimate to split up the fight to deny the Mad Lions from ever finding him or Hansam was absolutely crucial because the engage looked so good for Mad. They got Odo, they had Armut ulting straight onto the backline, but it was that ult that cut them off at the pass. We're gonna watch it in this replay one more time because again, Rogue, they wanna take things slow. They wanna play off their poke, they wanna play for their backline, but they lose their top laner right off the bat, and then watch this. Off of the double ults in, they both get denied there by Larssen. The cleanse from Hansama also lets him escape a little bit. The double knock up there too onto Carzzy means there's no kill onto the Senna. And once you start running away from an Azir, from an Udyr, all these things, well, you're never going to be able to have a threat in that fight again.
None whatsoever. Look at that. Trymbi, second most damage dealt. And despite the fact that Odo actually was the one that was burst down and focused, still got a good chunk out. But truthfully, it was all Larssen. It was his Azir. We did say just moments before, and now that we've entered this stage of the game, and the fact that those mid lane is a little bit more opened up, Larssen's Azir, one of his all-time most played, 17 wins, 11 losses, an average KDA of 5.1, and a CSD advantage of +11. Fairly similar numbers this game, but it's more the impact he has in those team fights. His positioning was crucial. In what effectively was a 4v5, he was what helped turn it around.
Yeah, and again, you know, I've been talking about it all game long. Udyr and Cho'Gath don't have great peel options. Now, Trymbi hit a 2-man knockup that was very beautiful, very pivotal to Rogue winning that fight, but it's up to Larssen to find those angles where the Azir ult completely denies the fight from Mad. When you fight in a tight choke like that, that wall gonna cover the entire way in for Mad Lions. So I really like the way Rogue kited back and played around him, and then just enabled Inspired to turn it back and charge down the Mad Lions.
Yeah, but put yourself in like Humanoid's or Carzzy's shoes. How the hell do you get through Sand Soldiers, Emperor's Divide, Root from Senna, Rupture from Trymbi? And if you do all of that, there's still a Feral Scream to silence you if you manage to make it that close. Yes, Armut and Elyoya, they can jump forward, sure. But if they don't find their target flawlessly, that's how the team fights will go. And this is why Rogue have got themselves a 3,000 gold lead. It'll drop to 2,000. As the mid turret is now dropped and it's 3 towers apiece.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, you still have the ball you can put on your front line. Carzzy can influence the fight with the range from his rockets, his ultimate too, so I don't think it's the end of the world, because again, all Carzzy's looking for is that one reset, and then with the movement speed, all the attack, you know, everything, then you can start to chase people down. Now, Mad Lions were able to get some really solid vision on the top side, jungle right before the Baron spawn, so not the end of the world for the Mad Lions. Down about 3,500 gold, and you really have to look at where that's manifesting in the game. If I could ask our observers, I don't even have to. They can read my freaking mind. I love it. Top lane obviously going to be a big mismatch for Odoamne, and that mid lane as well. Larssen continues to dominate.
Also really important, if you do the cumulative gold between the duo laners, right, it's 14,000 gold for Carzzy and Kaiser, and on the other side where Hansama is obviously not CSing early game, it's 13,000. So 1,000 gold difference. And I think really, really important for Mad Lions, it's Carzzy at 4, 2, and 1 on the Jinx. He's got himself, the Kraken Slayer already is in a very good position. So as long as Mad Lions can keep him alive, he does have the ability to get excited and to clean up these teams.
It's a ton of pressure on Carzzy in game one because the later we get into this game especially, he is what makes or breaks a Mad Lions team fight. Is he A, alive, B, able to auto-attack and get the damage down, and C, able to get that reset. Those three things in that order, if you can accomplish it, it is going to look pretty good here for Mad. Inspired on the flank. We'll see what ends up happening here. I can hear the players getting excited on stage. That's a good hook.
Sentence will connect onto Odo. He's the target once again. Boom. Mad Lions have thrown everything at them, though. Now Inspired is running for his life as Rogue was split up. Rogue are not able to use their peeling tools, and Inspired will find a blast cone to safety. But they did commit the flash from Elyoya as well as the ultimate from Armut.
It continues to be Kaiser, too, spotting this out. First was the pick over the wall, and the bot lane completely blind that time. Sees Odoamne stepping a little bit too far away from his team, and if Mad Lions ever see Rogue with a numbers disadvantage, Mad Lions always have the tools to instantly fly on in. The chem tank's already finished for Elyoya. Armut, I mean, he has his ultimate, but then he's gonna have a flash soon on top of that one. So Rogue have to be so precise in how they play this game out, because Larssen's top lane farming, if you overstep, you're dead.
That's what we said just a moment ago. Your gold lead doesn't freaking matter in the face of an unstoppable force, right? It worked out there for Mad. The beneficiary of the kill, Carzzy, 5 kills, 1 assist involved with 6 out of his team 7. Also, first ever Jinx game here in the playoffs of Spring 2021. And now Ender with 45 seconds to Dragon. Let's take a look at some of the vision here leading up to that mid pick. Mad Lions had actually pushed a lot of vision into the western quadrant, the blue buff area of Rogue. That's now starting to time out. And we can see both of the teams slightly cheating towards this Dragon Pit. With only 1 Dragon apiece, we're still going to be pretty delayed for that Soul and eventual Elder Dragon fight.
Yeah, we certainly are. And again, for Mad Lions, it's all about where can they dominate the vision control. There's still some wards that spot out Mad Lions if they walk into the river. One critical one outside the Pixel Brush. Inspire. Larssen has a Rabadon's already. Of course, that got buffed 200 gold cheaper, but 3 items. And if you look at the overall goal between the two teams, like Larssen and Carzzy are ahead of everyone else. It's a huge shockwave.
Shockwave catches 2. Inspired and Trymbi are low, but there's no further follow-up just yet. Trymbi goes gold and he dodges the rocket. That means Carzzy can't find himself another and get that pass on the flip forward. Larssen with the slide and glide, and Carzzy is picked off where he stands.
This game is Larssen versus Carzzy, and Larssen said, I don't care about your team. I am flying in. A brilliant ultimate into the Mad Lions backline, figures out Carzzy's play, kills him, and now Rogue are straight to the Baron.
Blink and you will miss it. Straight over the wall, scoops up Carzzy. And with that one down, Rogue will be able to pick up the Baron now. Mad Lions have started this Infernal, and I think they may be able to finish it off. It's not the quickest with just Elyoya and Kaiser. Larssen and Odo, they're going to make their way down, and this will be a little bit close, but Dragon's going low ender, 2,600. Land the smite, Elyoya, learn from yesterday's mistakes that we watched, and going to jump inside the pit, and it will be smote away. Elyoya takes the lantern to safety, and it was a little close for comfort.
Dude, Smite has to be bugged on this patch. That was down to 18 HP before he ended up getting that one. It starts up, Humanoid sees 2 players. It's the 2 tanks, though, so not a whole lot of value to be had. And then just watch Larssen. What's he looking for? Because Mad Lions split up. 2 of them go left, 3 go right. Larssen says, you're coming straight back with me. Bursts him down before the rest of his team can even help him out. Mad Lions have to run to the hills, and that means a very early Baron for Rogue in this game. They have the Sun Disc too, so their siege brutal. Jayce in the bot lane now can shove up that wave, and what can Mad Lions do? Can they try to force a fight? Well, probably not, because if you're running into Larssen, you're dying almost every time.
Now for Rogue as well, this again is their playstyle. When they are in a lead, they have the ability to suffocate their opponents off the map. With Baron empowered Jayce side lane, even though he's 0-3-2. Look at the CS difference here. Odo, 226 to 142. He's on the verge of flame horizoning his opposite number. Again, somewhat expected in the matchup. And despite the fact that Odo has been the juicy target for Matt, it hasn't actually netted them control of the game. It has felt as though Rogue have been dictating the pace to Mad Lions.
Oh, certainly, and I think that, like, killing Odo, always going to be good, but we're now at a point in the game where, like, Larssen has 3,000 gold more than pretty much anyone else in the match, apart from Carzzy. So it really is just those 2 players you have to look at. Armut has to find Larssen, but we saw in that fight, you know, 10 minutes ago, Larssen's ultimate so effective at buying space for him. He has the Banshee's Veil, too, which is another wrinkle you have to get past if you are the Mad Lions, especially if Larssen is playing really, really well. Well, then he has that up ready to go whenever Armut's going to be stepping forward with his ultimate.
Can I ask you to analyze a statement, as that is a shockwave onto Larssen. He's still got the ultimate available. Hans Sama will be able to root down Elyoya. Larssen's down. We'll get a heal out from Hans Sama, and the support is now making its way in. Empress Divide instantly disengages Elyoya, but he hops over the wall. Armut comes in with the ultimate, and he will go down. That's Elyoya traded for Larssen. The first death for Larssen this game as he was pushing the top tower.
Yeah, it was almost more there. Kaiser tried to predict the step back from Hans Sama, but Hans didn't bite, so wasn't able to land that hook. There was still a cleanse, even if that did come through. Still, a very important kill to get there. A lot of gold, especially for a player that's falling behind in the top lane, make him that tank that can try to absorb anything. But all these shutdowns, that's just what you're going to look for every single time on Larssen.
And more importantly as well, it's into Rogue that have Baron buff. It's going to slow down the ability. If you look at the minimap here, Odo was at his inner turret. There's no support, and Humanoid just takes advantage of Larssen sticking out a few seconds too long.
It looks like Trymbi and Odo are both coming off of resets. And then, of course, you have the Rocket trying to come in, finish off Larssen. There's just so many threats, and I think that Mad Lions can take a lot of learnings from this fight. Elyoya and Armut, if they can not necessarily stack their engage, but, you know, put a little pause in between, because, of course, Elyoya went in first, then the Emperor's Divide comes out. If that's out already, well, then Armut has no problem going unstoppable straight through that. Then he's not going to get pushed off of that Azir either. So these are the types of things you can learn throughout the game. Mad Lions can try to adapt coming into the next team fight.
It's quite funny because when you think about these team fight comps, chaining the CC was the gold standard. You know, layer it, make sure that nobody has a chance to move. Now you have to stagger the CC, right?
It's true.
And you also have to stagger it and hope that you're not going to get rooted by Hans or have Trymbi's disengage tools around. So Mad Lions were able to find their 8th kill. They're 8-8. It's a minute and a half until the next Infernal, but Mad Lions are still down a significant amount of gold, 6,000 at the 27-minute mark. Carzzy, however, is quietly building up an armory. Infinity Edge now to complement his rapid-fire cannon and that Vamp Scepter, and it's going to come down to this next Dragon fight.
Trevor, this is the same position Mad Lions were in when Kaiser landed that hook of wall, picked off Odoamne. They want to maintain all those control wards above that fat wall there, dominate the river, make sure Rogue walk into them, because again, Rogue can be vulnerable to the Thresh hook, to the engage from Mad Lions. It's all about choosing the right fight for Rogue, and stepping into the fog of war is not it. So Rogue, they play for the mid wave first, inspired even, like they're just trying to spread out as wide as possible so that Mad Lions can't find that picture-perfect engage.
Yeah, spreading out. The line of scrimmage, if you're an NFL viewer, is going to be set up. Rogue not going to fall prey, not going to put
themselves they want Odo!
Targets. Odo again!
Oh, what a flash!
He flashes away from the hook, gets caught by the flay, goes forward and the ultimate comes out. Shockwave catches Odo, but the Hex Drinker keeps him alive. Odo escapes with his life. It's Elyoya that's down. Larssen finds Carzzy. Larssen finds Carzzy. He's got an aim bot locked on Mad Lions bot, and it's 2 quick kills to Rogue.
Oh my god, the biggest pickup in the offseason, the LEC, is Odo coming into Rogue. He gets picked, but it's an insane hook, and now Trymbi, they're chasing forward. They're going to find Armut. Rogue are looking at the end of the game right here.
They absolutely are. Rogue turned the engage around. Odoamne survives this time, and Humanoid does not. Rogue find themselves 4 kills, will open up the base, take down the inhibitor. 45 seconds for Humanoid, 30 seconds for Armut, 10 seconds for Carzzy. There is surely no way that Mad Lions can defend this base. 5 members of Rogue are looking at the second Nexus turret. That's a jump in from Elyoya. He gets feasted down and taken out by Trymbi. The Nexus will be the next focus, but not before a quick stop to kill Kaiser for the second time, turning their attention for yet another stat pad. Rogue with a statement win in Game 1.
So much of that game, it was the control for Rogue. It's what allowed them to amass such an advantage. Even when Mad Lions found a lot of really excellent avenues of attack, they got the picks on Odo, the excellent hooks, the Malphite ultimates. A lot of those things worked out for them, but it's just a kill here or there, never amounted to more. And Rogue's steady progression to dominate and trample over Mad Lions is exactly what came away with the win in the end.
It's just a very typical Rogue win. They built up a 2,000 gold lead by 15 minutes. The draft, I think, allowed them some of that advantage. But then they managed to push that further and further. They got more towers, they got more kills. Yeah, they conceded a Drake or 2. It didn't matter because they controlled the lanes and they controlled the rifts.
And Larssen. Let's just talk about the laning phase, the ultimate, the first time when Mad Lions sent everything flying his way. He's like, no, get off me. And then the pivotal moment, I believe, was when he found Carzzy. Carzzy. That's one of those. You got one of them. You got Carzzy. That's the important
kicked off
one.
the series with a win as they took down Kaiser. And we'll take a closer look at Game 1 until Falco in a few minutes. Larssen is a monster.
He's a machine.
He's an absolute monster.
They are out there, waiting to be discovered. Some of them are big, and some of them are small. But that's the thing with ideas. They don't just come to you. To find them, you have to move. Kia, movement that inspires.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Welcome back to the Analyst Desk. Road's success from the regular season continued in Game 1 as they took down Mad Lions, and now stand outside with the white board. That's I like that they brought the whiteboard with I don't know why that's so funny to me.
I was gonna, you were caught off guard by that, weren't you?
I was very caught off guard by it. Everyone is taking the outside whiteboard very seriously. I guess it's just us.
All right. Just you. I'm laughing at you.
Okay, fine. Normal stuff. Anyway, draft is going to be what's very important as we bring it back to the desk here to talk a little bit about what went down in Game 1. Some interesting things happening in the draft, kicking off with, to me, the Senna Cho'Gath coming out very fast. We saw it in Week 8 as well, but was a combo I was very excited to see.
I don't think either of us was surprised because we've seen it during the regular season. Yesterday, you guys were permabanning Senna against G2, and it seems that Senna as a champion is still very prevalent, and the first pick immediately comes out from Rogue. What did surprise me was the shift away from jungle, because yesterday it felt like jungle Orianna was kind of like the key go-to primary, but the shift here was clearly about getting that strong bot lane in, and Mad Lions felt like that they had an answer to it. And like we can debate more later about whether or not it is a successful answer, but ultimately that seemed to be the priorities for these teams.
Yeah, so I think obviously the Senna first pick is, I think, pretty strong in the meta right now because it can be paired with a number of different funnel champions. And we saw them use Cho'Gath before in the regular season. They use it again today. I think this combo is very strong because you can hit one CC off of Senna and you chain it into a Cho'Gath ultimate, and the enemy just dies.
And we saw that. You literally said, hey, guys, at level 6, they're going to get one shot. And we saw kills turning back and forth. We're like, it's not going to happen like that. And then instantly.
It was like 20 seconds later.
Instantly one shot, which is a good call. Maybe some experience seeing the combo before. And it definitely felt overall pretty powerful. But despite that, we did see Mad Lions get some promising kills. It felt like a relatively calm early game, which initially I thought might favor Mad Lions, but when we start to look at these early team fights, I think you can see that things work out.
Before we get there, because I want to talk more about the draft.
Yeah.
We have the time to do it, mainly because Dylan pointed out something really interesting to me that I wanted him to highlight, because often we don't get to see all the inner workings of draft mechanics, but Dylan spotted a really cool thing that Rogue did.
Yeah, like as a coach, you need to think a lot more of these sorts of strategy aspect of the draft, of when different roles are picked and when different combos are picked and how they interact with each other. So for example, in this draft, Mad Lions actually picked Jinx on 1-2 with Orianna. Pretty standard to blind your AD and pick Orianna because Orianna is just a stable pick. But the issue is when you pick Jinx, I think you are very, very much pressured to pick a support on 3. I think Jinx is usually paired with Thresh very often, some engage support sometimes, but usually the main combo is you see across the entire world is Jinx Thresh. So what Rogue actually does here is they blind the Jayce. And once Jayce gets picked, enemy locks in support. They actually get to ban both Sion and Wukong, which I think, from knowing Armut's champion pool, from scouting a bit, is his 2 best responses into Jayce that can actually contest a bit in lane and also be useful in the game. I think Malphite, for example, in this game is very good in fights against enemy champs. You saw him get quite a few strong ultimates. They killed Jayce a few times. He got caught up before team fights. But I don't think the lane was good enough. And I think especially considering Udyr is winning early in the jungle, is a little bit faster, and Azir is getting pushing mid, they just bled so many resources on the top side of the map because of this clever draft advantage that Rogue managed to create.
And that's why I really want to highlight, because I think it showcases how important games can even be right from the get-go and the advantages that you can have. Not only is it targeting Armut's champion pool, but they're also taking advantage of expectations when it comes to the draft, and then Mad Lions couldn't really get much off the back of it. So very cool stuff, and hopefully we'll get to see more evolutions of cool draft things as the series progresses.
And such a stark contrast that it makes you think we can expect to see some shifts in the bot lane where you've got, as you mentioned, Rogue, who can pick Senna and then pick with pretty much anything that they want. On the opposite side, you're picking in a mobile AD carry like Jinx, and you feel like you're forced to pick Thresh. So one team making themselves very narrow in the early stages of the draft, one team leaving it essentially wide open, because while they do like the Cho'Gath, we could have been second pick phase seeing something totally crazy, something totally out of left field in that bot lane. Who knows how deep the Senna plus X combos can go. That said, again, small positive signs from Mad Lions in the early game. Carzzy getting 3 kills looked like a solid start, maybe felt like a shift factor, but then when we saw the team fights, that's when we really saw the full composition come to fruition, because despite a promising start to this first team fight where Odoamne is immediately picked off, Rogue's composition, which blew my mind at the time, does manage to shift things around and make it work.
Yeah, so here Odo gets caught up really early with Malphite ulti, and they basically start the fight 5 versus 4, but If you see the items here, actually it's not showing, but Azir is up an entire item over Orianna at this point from mid plates, and I think Jayce is up quite a bit of CS as well. So even though the fight starts so poorly for Rogue from like an outside perspective, they're just so strong in these teamfight scenarios that they managed to take the fight.
They're also trying to run Rogue down in a choke point against the Cho'Gath. So as we play the clip, you'll see that, again, they have a numbers advantage and it looks quite promising, but then the Volibear engages. Look at Carzzy's positioning, right at the choke point, positioned perfectly for Trymbi to be able to get the knock-up into the follow-up. And so really good awareness from Rogue to be able to get the re-engage, utilizing the strength of their composition, along with the huge item advantage that they had from Larssen in the mid lane. And like, a lot of credit needs to go to the mid-jungle duo of Rogue for the success of this game, because while Odo was getting attacked in the top lane, while the bot lane was finding advantages, they were also dying in the 2 versus 2, and then it all came down to the fact that all of this money was being funneled into this man's mid lane Azir. Yeah. And when you give this man a lot of money on this champion specifically, like look, at 15 minutes he had a 1.4k gold lead just because he managed to get the entire tower thanks to the Rift Tower.
Like Odo kept getting caught by Malphite ultis all over the place, but him and Larssen won their lane so hard with like good jungle pathing and just good laning that it just didn't matter.
Which is just, I mean, stunning to watch. Again, these numbers behind us are growing. I mean, even 60% forward percent in what should normally be a pretty contested mid lane matchup is crazy to me. And Larssen absolutely a force to be reckoned with. We thought the junglers were going to be kind of the biggest factor, but I think what we saw in this game, when it's not Nidalees, when it's not more carry-focused junglers, when it's Udyrs, and when it's in this case Volibears, that playing through the mid laners certainly worked out very well for Rogue. And I do want to look ahead now to Game 2. What do you change if you're Mad Lions? What do you need to adjust? Is it banning Senna? Is it banning Azir? Is it as simple as just changing draft round? Or what else needs to change in execution?
So if I was Mad Lions going into this set, I would be pretty aware that Senna Cho'Gath is on the radar. They played it in the regular season and they insta-locked it in the first game. So you can go one of two ways. I think this combo is very strong, Senna Cho'Gath. You need some sort of either a ban on it, or you need something that can actually counter this in lane. You need something that's mobile enough to not get hit by the skill shots, and I think also strong enough to deal with the Cho'Gath in teamfights and kill it. And I think the counters to this lane are probably going to look a bit cheesy. It's not going to look like some meta stuff. So I think unless they have some dark arts prepared, I think it's probably best to just ban Senna.
I think the Orianna is also an interesting priority. So yesterday we saw it rise to prominence, and then both well, we saw an answer once from Caps with his Azir, and then obviously you didn't pick the Azir into the Orianna because it was taken off the board, but that champion didn't really, like, that was problematic in the series yesterday, but it feels like Larssen has already found an effective answer, and his Azir, he's more than happy to play through it, especially with this common Azir, which gets you a lot of priority in the laning phase and has a lot of poking power. So I think that Mad Lions need to evaluate how much weight do they want to put on the Ori, especially if they're willing to pick things like the Ori, which you can debate, but if they have a plan to answer things like an Orianna for the side of Rogue, then perhaps they need to, like, get Larssen off of a champion that he's very comfortable with and knows how to snowball with.
And game 1, we talked about it behind the scenes, and I'll just say it now. It's a game where always teams are going to have a little bit of jitters. They're always going to be a little bit slower to play. We'll see how much more explosive game 2 is. And as you can see Inspired on your screen, taking a break and chilling out. So too will we. We're going to see if Mad Lions can bounce back when we return, as a spot in the upper bracket for round 2 is on the line. Don't go anywhere. Game 2 will come up right after this.